What is good, my soldiers? It's CDTVProductions here. Yes, I did just call you that, and today we're going to be looking at hip-hop diss tracks that crossed the line. Now, I know that a lot of people think or will say that there is no line in hip-hop, that you can't go too far with a diss track. Now, that's perfectly fine if you think that, you're allowed to. We're all allowed to think different things, that's how the world works. But I personally think that there is a line between, making a diss track and just making something that gets too real and uncomfortable. Diss tracks should be raw or funny or even somewhat brutal, but they should never get to the point where it actually feels uncomfortable to listen to. So today we will be looking at examples of that. So with all that being said, guys, you can follow me on my Instagram if you want to under the name CDTV Productions, and this is CDTV Productions, and let's look at some brutal hip-hop diss tracks that crossed the line, in my opinion.
You keep hitting my name, ho, get off my DRC, cause I'm a savage, just gonna leave you sad, bitch. Don't get suicidal like your friend, here's a casket. Steve's burning in hell, my burners on my belt. Straight
away, we're starting with an example that just ran past the line. And this was a song in which Troy Ave was dissing Joey Badass. Now, this beef started, like most beefs, kind of pointlessly and through Twitter, with Troy and Joey beefing over who had the most sales as an independent artist. So, how did Troy fire back at Joey for Joey dissing his sales? Well, it doesn't start off too bad. He says Joey looks like a drug addict, says Joey never gets any radio play. Well, let's keep in mind that Troy Ave's last album sold 5k in the first week, but then all of a sudden, he steps way out of bounds. In the second verse, he goes on to diss Capital Steez, a very close friend of Joey who tragically committed suicide by jumping off of a building. Troy references this by saying this, and goes as far to say, Steez is burning in hell. If dissing a 19-year-old who is so down and so depressed with their life that they decide to end it all isn't taking it too far, I don't know what is. I think we need to make one thing clear, and that is going at dead people in your diss tracks, it doesn't make you look hard, it just makes Troy Ave look incredibly insecure about his sales. The fact that he had to bring one of Joey's dead friends into the mix because his sales as a hip-hop artist were insulted, that speaks volumes. All I can say is, look where Joey's at now, and look where Troy is at now. Hell, when Capital Steez's album drops with all his unreleased music, it's most likely gonna sell more than Troy Ave did.
You were the man on the moon, now you just go through your phases. Life of the angry and famous. Rap like I know I'm the greatest, then give you tropical flavor, still never been on hiatus.
Let's take a look at another one which insults someone's mental health, shall we? Now, this track was seen to be mainly focusing on two targets, those targets being Pusha T and Kid Cudi. And we are going to be focusing mainly at the disses aimed at Cudi. Yet again, this is another beef that started through Twitter. Cudi tweeted at Drake saying he is fake and can't be considered as a legend because he uses ghostwriters. Drake responded with some lines here that appeared as if they were going after Cudi's mental state. He says, "You were the man on the moon, now you just go through your phases, life of the angry and famous. And then, you stay zanned and perked up so when reality set in, you don't have to face it." What makes it even worse is that before Drake released this, Cudi checked into rehab for depression and suicidal thoughts. Now, it's not clear if this song was written before Cudi checked into rehab, but I mean, either way, it was incredibly bad timing. Now, a lot of people have said it is unclear whether Drake is actually going at Kid Cudi's mental state with these lines or not, and that is up to you to decide for yourself, but I personally think that the lines "stay zanned and perked up so you don't have to face reality," that looks very much like a shot at the state of a person who isn't exactly mentally stable. That's what it looks like to me, but again, I don't want you guys to take my word for it. You can look into it yourselves before you start throwing out accusations at Drake. I looked into it and this is what I think. And if this is an attack on Cudi's mental state, That is a bit too far in my opinion.
How many eighths in the key? Shorty, stay in your place. For the AKs in your face. Take your daughter R. Kelly, have my way with her face. Roll. And your mom's a whip.
Now this one is almost funny in a way, because Cam essentially disses himself with a few lines on this song, and I'll explain that in a minute. Now this one didn't start through Twitter, because I don't think Twitter was around in 2002. And this beef started when one day Nas went on a massive rant and basically said that Cam's Come Home With Me album was whack.
You know what I'm saying? Let's get real and be creative. I buy these people albums, you know what I'm saying? And they ain't talking about nothing from Cam to everybody. I mean, I like Cam and everything. He's a good lyricist. But the album's whack, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all brothers got to start rapping about something that's real, man.
That wasn't the main focus of the rant, but it was one of the things he said. And Cam obviously took offense to this. Shortly after, Cam would respond with this diss track over the beat for one of Nas's own songs. And there's one line that stood out as pretty messed up. He says, "Take your daughter, R. Kelly, have my way with her face." Now, if you know about the R. Kelly allegations, you'll know what Cameron is implying he'll do with Nas's daughter. The problem is, his daughter was only around 7 years old at the time. Congratulations to you, Cameron. You just basically said you would sexually assault a child in your rap song, basically dissing yourself by comparing yourself to a pedophile. Bravo, man. My hat's off to you. Not literally, we're not doing the hair reveal yet, but hats off to you. What is not so funny though is that Cameron also dissed Nas's mother in this song, who had died very shortly before this was released. Cam just pretty much went as far as he wanted with this one, even if going as far as he wanted means comparing himself to a sexual predator.
Down and throw the baddie in the river. I'm not a real rapper, I'm a fucking grave digger. Throw his ass off a bridge like they did CDTV.
And here we arrive at a primary example of when diss tracks go way too far. Now this was a beef between OG ManMan and Big Flock. This started when Big Flock said in a song that OG ManMan was a snitch and a police informant. That's not all though, these guys had legitimate real life beef, and they pretty much just used hip hop as a way to diss each other on a public platform. So, how did ManMan respond to this? Well, he responded with this track, in which he disses Big Flock and his deceased friend, C. Diddy. Now, as we've discussed, bringing dead people into a diss track is already a bit too far, and ManMan has numerous lines aimed at C. Diddy on here. But ManMan went even further on this. In the music video for this song, he can be seen standing on the actual gravesite of C. Diddy, literally where he was buried in real life, and pouring champagne on it, literally celebrating his death. I'd like to think that no matter who you are, we can all agree that this was so damn disrespectful and should never have been done. The story does not end here though. Things got even more heated, and 2 months after this diss track dropped, OG ManMan was murdered, presumably for dropping this diss track. Now this song, it really is pretty insane to look at, and if you want to hear a little bit more in depth about it, you can check out this video by my friend Blacky Speaks. He made this a while back and he really goes into detail about this diss track, the background, the aftermath, what happened during it. So I'd recommend you check that out if you found what I talked about morbidly interesting. And that is just the absolute pinnacle example, in my opinion, of when a diss track just went too far. Not only did it diss someone that was already dead, but OG ManMan presumably got killed for this. Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, I do have a new cringy name for my subscribers. I've never had one before. You're now going to be the Soldiers / the 2007 squad. Yep, I'm not going to let that meme die. I'm going to run it into the ground. It's literally going to be 6 feet deep before we kill that meme. But yeah, if you guys want, you can follow me under Instagram under the name CDTVProductions. I'm trying to hit 5,000 followers on there as soon as I can. That's a big milestone for me on there because I do want to grow my other social medias. Thank you so much for watching though. I will be back with more videos soon. I have a lot of uploads planned, and I will see you guys all in the next one. This is CDTV Productions, still with no monetization. Thank you, YouTube. Signing out.